Okay, hello external students, Michael Jenkins here again, just to show one thing I was requested by an external student is to give a run through on blocks. So I guess what you guys want to know is I guess the properties of blocks, how we go about using blocks, etc. So blocks are an incredibly handy AutoCAD tool. They enable us to have some pre-drawn drawings and have those in a library elsewhere, and then place them into the drawings as we wish. So with this subject, you'll see that there is a block library on Learn for you to grab for this floor plan, and you can grab that block library and keep that. It's a fairly handy resource for a lot of your blocks, but you can also build onto that library as you progress. It's a great sort of drafters tool in their kit bag to have for a good number of blocks. Now, various different types of blocks. These are just your simple straightforward blocks. They're also dynamic blocks. Dynamic blocks are blocks that we can grab, or we select them and then edit features, or as we insert them, edit features. So having a door as a dynamic block is a good one, because this door that we have here, for example, it's set as an 820 door, so it's an 820 radius for that arc with a 900 wide opening, so 40mm jambs outside, but with assuming a 90mm stud. But sometimes that stud will be thinner or wider in circumstances. So dynamic block for a door is a good one. Also, dynamic block for windows is good, because we're typically dealing with different wall thicknesses if we're working for a firm or ourselves who do different types of construction. So dynamic block for windows, etc. That's a little bit beyond the scope of what we're going to be covering in this subject. But what we have for this particular drawing is our block library with things such as our doors, bathtubs, shower, bathtub, toilet vanity, cooktop, etc. And you can grab all those and place them in there. We have our blocks. We attribute a line to place that block in first. So if I was to do this sink here, I would select plumbing and have that as the current layer. Then the way I would go about inserting that block is type in I, so keyboard shortcut for insert, and then we get a drop-down list. Now, if I've already referenced that block in the drawing previously, then or in the drawing as it's set up, then it will be in my drop-down list here like this. So I can choose that. If I haven't, I can click on this browse and then go to my block library and select it from there. And from there on, it will be in this drop-down list. So we'll look for we call it sync. So grab sync. When we've selected that block, we have a few different options. So we've got insertion point, specify on screen. I always prefer to have that clicked as on. If I deselect specify on screen, it will put that block at coordinate 0, 0, so right down at our UCS. So our UCS is the XY right at the bottom left-hand side of our screen when we go to zoom extents. So select that, so we get to choose where we drop the block in. And then scale, I choose not to specify that on screen. Typically, I want that if we're working with a sink, we want that sink to be the scale that it is. Some blocks we will want to modify the scale, such as a timber section. If we have a timber section and we want to use that for many different sizes of timber, then we can simply specify the scale. So this is a piece of timber, and I wanted to make it 140 by 35. I type in here 140, and then my Y, 35. So it's a good way of doing a timber section. But for our sink, we want that scale to be 1 and 1. So we'll leave that as is, and we won't need to specify that on screen. We don't need to rotate that on the screen. We can just drop it in as it is. So you'll see that my block is attached to my cursor via my pick point, which is, I assume it appears to be about 50mm off the centre of that sink. So it gives a 50mm setback from that edge. So you drop that block on there. Now, if we want to modify that block and we want to do it within our drawing, what we can do is we can select it and then we can explode that block. Be aware that when you explode a block, it increases the file size of your drawing significantly. For a sink it's not too significant, but there is a lot of embedded information within a block. Once we explode that in our drawing, it contributes a lot to the file size. So if we keep doing that as a matter of course, we'll end up with a fairly large file, and that's something to be aware of. Another thing to be aware of is that when you explode a block, it automatically comes onto layer 0. So if I click on this, it will come up here on my layers as layer 0. So it gets attributed to that layer 0. So we've dropped our block in there and we've exploded it, which allows us to edit it. That means we can click and drag things if we want to move things. So M to move, and I'll move our sinkhole over to the other side of the drain, a drain hole to the other side of the sink. For example, we can modify that to whatever extent we wish. But we don't need to modify that sink. That sink's already in there, but that's a possibility. And then if we wanted to save the change block, which I won't do because that change will be carried through all the rest of those blocks in there, we can grab this and type in B, the block, and enter, the keyboard shortcut. We name that exactly the same name that we had on there beforehand, specify a different pick point, and go convert to block, okay, and that will carry those changes through the rest of the blocks. I don't want to do that, so I won't carry through with that. So we'll just get rid of our sink there that we've modified. Another way, and that I'm showing you the keyboard shortcut for creating a block, which is B and enter. So that enables us to create a block. So if I wanted to turn this foyer label in for block, for example, I could go B, enter, and then specify the criteria I wish for that. And so we do that by picking a point. Okay, I want the pick point of our block to be bottom left-hand corner. I'll select objects, so go here to select objects, select my object, and then I want it to be annotated because I want to be able to change that and allow exploding, and then OK. I don't want to go creating a foyer block, so I'll cancel that. Now that's one way of creating a block, but that block will only be usable within your drawing. So if I create a block using the keyboard shortcut B, I can only use that in my drawing. If I want to create a block with a file reference to go into my block library, the keyboard shortcut for that is WB. So WB and enter, and that is write block. So that will allow me to give a file reference to my block for use outside of my drawing. And that's typically the way, or any of the blocks that you're using from our library, that's how they've been created. So we've got just your standard block and then your WB for write block if you want it to be used elsewhere. So that's our blocks. Beyond that, I briefly touched on pick points of blocks. So, for example, shower. I'll go to insert shower, and I'm not sure. So shower right hand side, okay. So that's another aspect of our blocks, is that typically with things like showers or timber sections, we are modifying the scale of those on a consistent basis. So it's drawn as a 1mm object, and then we increase that scale later, or we can increase it as we install it. So let's make this one 900 by 100. And notice our pick point for that block is the bottom left-hand corner of the shower. So when you create blocks, it's handy to think about how you want to be installing that block into the drawing for where you define your pick point for, because that's how you will grab and move your shower, and that will be your reference point for installing that block. Hence our sink, our pick point for that was 50 millimeters off the centre. That way we can get it set in 50 millimeters off this edge of the island bench. Beyond that, I think we've covered pretty much everything you'd want to know about blocks at this stage. So we've gone into how to install blocks, where to find them, how to build up your block library, what we can do if we want to modify a block or write a block. If you have any more questions about blocks, please let me know. Beyond that, have a fantastic break over the next couple of weeks and keep me updated. Thank you.